The year was 2150, and Earth had changed a lot. People now lived on the Moon and Mars. Big spaceships flew between planets like buses on Earth. In this new world, a little girl named Aria was very excited. She was only 10 years old, but she was going to Mars. Aria lived with her parents in a big city on Earth. Her mom was a doctor, and her dad was an engineer. They got jobs on Mars, so the whole family was moving. Aria couldn't stop talking about it to her friends at school. "I'm going to see the red sand," she told them. "And I'll jump really high because Mars doesn't have much gravity." On the day of the trip, Aria woke up very early. She put on her favorite blue dress and packed her special teddy bear in her backpack. Her parents smiled as they watched her run around the house, checking if she had everything. "Ready for your big adventure, sweetheart?" her dad asked, picking her up for a hug. "Yes, yes, yes," Aria laughed, hugging him tight. They drove to the spaceport in a flying car. Aria pressed her face against the window, looking at the tall buildings below. She wondered if Mars would look like this one day. At the spaceport, there were many people. Some were crying as they said goodbye to their families. Others looked scared about flying in space. But Aria wasn't scared at all. She held her mom's hand and walked to their ship with a big smile. The ship was huge and shiny. It was called the Star Hopper. Aria thought it looked like a giant silver bird. Inside, everything was clean and white. Aria and her parents found their seats and buckled up. "Look, honey," her mom said, pointing out the window. "We can see the whole city from here." Aria looked out and gasped. The city looked tiny, like a toy model. She could see the ocean in the distance, shining in the sunlight. Soon, a voice came over the speakers. It was the captain. "Welcome aboard the Star Hopper," he said. "We're ready for takeoff. Please stay in your seats." Aria felt excited as the ship started to move. It went faster and faster. Then suddenly, they were flying up into the sky. Aria watched as the ground got smaller and smaller. Soon, they were in space. "Wow," Aria said, looking at the stars. "It's so pretty." For a while, everything was peaceful. Aria played games on her tablet and had snacks with her parents. But then, something strange happened. The ship started to shake. Aria heard loud noises. She looked at her parents. They looked worried. "What's happening?" she asked. Before anyone could answer, there was a bright flash of light outside the window. Aria saw a big ship appear. It was dark and scary looking. It had lots of guns on it. "That's a Galactic Empire ship," someone shouted. Aria didn't know what the Galactic Empire was, but she knew it was bad. People started to scream and cry. The captain's voice came on again. He sounded scared. "This is Captain Lee of the Star Hopper," he said. "We are a civilian ship. Please do not." But he couldn't finish. There was a loud boom, and the whole ship shook hard. Aria fell out of her seat. She tried to get up, but everything was spinning. She heard her mom calling her name. "Aria, Aria, where are you?" Aria tried to answer, but she couldn't. She saw fire and smoke. The ship was breaking apart. The last thing Aria saw was the stars through a big hole in the ship. Then everything went black. On Earth, people soon heard the terrible news. The Star Hopper was gone. Everyone on board, including little Aria, was dead. The Galactic Empire ship had destroyed them by mistake. The whole world was shocked and sad. How could this happen? Why did an innocent child have to die? As Aria's picture was shown on news screens everywhere, something changed in people's hearts. Sadness turned to anger. They wanted justice for Aria and all the others who died. Little did the Galactic Empire know, they had just made a very big mistake. Earth was not going to let this go. A storm was coming, and it would change the whole galaxy forever. The news of the Star Hopper's destruction spread like wildfire across Earth. People everywhere were glued to their screens, watching the story unfold. They saw pictures of Aria, the little girl with a bright smile who would never grow up. They heard about the other families who lost their loved ones. The world was in shock. In New York, the United Earth Council called an emergency meeting. Leaders from all over the planet gathered in a big round room. They all looked angry and sad. "This cannot stand," shouted the president of the African Union, slamming her fist on the table. "The Galactic Empire has gone too far." The room erupted in shouts and arguments. Some wanted to send diplomats to talk to the Empire. Others wanted to declare war right away. In the middle of all this noise, a quiet voice spoke up. "I have something to show you." Everyone turned to look. It was Dr. Yuki Tanaka, Earth's top scientist. She was a small woman with gray hair and kind eyes. But today, her eyes looked hard and determined. Dr. Tanaka pressed a button on her tablet. A big screen on the wall lit up. It showed something that made everyone gasp. "What you're seeing," Dr. Tanaka said, "is Project Dreadnought." The screen showed thousands of massive spaceships. They were hidden in underground bases, under the oceans, and even on the dark side of the moon. Each ship was bigger than a city and packed with weapons. "We have been building these in secret for years," Dr. Tanaka explained. "We knew the day might come when Earth would need to defend itself. That day is here." The room was silent for a moment. Then the Prime Minister of India spoke up. "How many of these ships do we have?" Dr. Tanaka took a deep breath. 700,000. The room exploded with noise again. People couldn't believe it. Earth had been preparing for war without anyone knowing. The President of the United States stood up. "I think we all know what we need to do," he said. "It's time to use these ships. We must show the Galactic Empire that Earth is not weak. We will avenge Area and all the others who died." One by one, the leaders nodded. They were afraid, but they were also angry. The Empire had killed their people. Now they would fight back. As the leaders made plans, something was happening outside. People were gathering in the streets. In New York, London, Tokyo, and every big city, crowds were forming. They carried pictures of Area and the other victims. In Paris, a young woman climbed on top of a car. She had tears in her eyes as she shouted to the crowd. "We must fight back," she yelled. "For Area, for humanity." The crowd took up the chant. "For Area, for humanity." The word spread around the world. People made signs and t-shirts with Area's face on them. The little girl became a symbol of Earth's pain and anger. Meanwhile, in secret bases around the world, soldiers and pilots were getting ready. They put on new uniforms and climbed into their massive ships. Many of them had pictures of Area in their pockets or pinned to their suits. One pilot, a young man named Jack, looked at Area's picture before he got into his ship. "We'll make them pay," he whispered. "I promise." As the Dreadnoughts came to life, their engines glowing in the dark, Earth was changing. People who had never thought about war were now ready to fight. Mothers and fathers looked at their children and knew they would do anything to protect them. In space stations and colonies on the Moon and Mars, humans prepared to evacuate. They knew a storm was coming, a war that would shake the galaxy. Back in the council room, the leaders made their final decision. They would strike first and strike hard. The Galactic Empire would learn that Earth was not a planet to be trifled with. As night fell around the world, millions of people looked up at the stars. They knew that soon, those stars would be filled with Earth's ships. The Dreadnoughts were coming. And somewhere out there, the Galactic Empire had no idea what was about to hit them. The sky over Earth was changing. If you looked up at night, you could see it. Thousands of bright dots were moving, forming patterns in the stars. These were Earth's Dreadnoughts, the massive warships that had been hidden for so long. All around the planet, in oceans and underground bases, more ships were waking up. Their engines hummed to life, making the ground shake. People gathered to watch as the huge ships rose into the sky, one after another. On the moon, Astronauts stared in awe as a hidden hangar opened in a crater. Hundreds of dreadnoughts flew out, their metal shells gleaming in the sunlight. Even Mars had a surprise. The red planet's ice caps split open, revealing ships that had been buried there. They broke free from the ice and soared into space, joining their Earth and Moon siblings. Back on Earth, in a secret command center deep under the Rocky Mountains, General Sarah Chen watched it all happen. Screens covered the walls, showing the positions of all 700,000 dreadnoughts. "Status report," she ordered. A young officer replied, "All ships are active and in position, ma'am. The solar system is secured." General Chen nodded. She had trained for this day for years, but she never thought it would really come. Now she was in charge of the biggest fleet in human history. As Earth prepared for war, news traveled across the galaxy. Alien races watched in surprise as humans, who they thought were weak, suddenly revealed a massive army. On a planet far from Earth, in the heart of the Galactic Empire, Emperor Zorn was not happy. He sat on his crystal throne, surrounded by advisors who looked very nervous. "How did we not know about this?" Zorn roared. His voice echoed in the huge, empty throne room. "How did the humans hide so many ships?" One brave advisor stepped forward. "Your Majesty, it seems the humans are more clever than we thought." Zorn didn't let him finish. With a wave of his hand, he sent the advisor flying across the room. The others stepped back in fear. "Send a message to Earth," Zorn growled. "Tell them to stand down immediately. If they don't, we will destroy their entire planet." The message was sent, traveling faster than light across the stars. When it reached Earth, the United Earth Council gathered to hear it. As the hologram of Emperor Zorn flickered in front of them, the room was silent. Everyone listened as Zorn made his threats, promising to wipe out humanity if they didn't give up. When the message ended, the council members looked at each other. Then, slowly, they began to laugh. "Does he really think we'll back down now?" asked the president of Brazil, wiping tears from her eyes. "After what they did to our people, to Area." The others nodded in agreement. They had come too far to stop now. Earth would fight, no matter what. They sent a reply to Zorn. It was short and simple. "For Area, for humanity, we're coming." As the message sped towards the Empire, Earth made its final preparations. Factories worked day and night, making weapons and supplies. Millions of people volunteered to join the fight, training to be soldiers and pilots. In schools, children learned about space battles instead of math. In hospitals, doctors practiced treating alien injuries. Every part of life on Earth changed, all focused on the coming war. Through it all, Area's face was everywhere. On posters, on the sides of buildings, even painted on the dreadnoughts themselves. The little girl who died had become a symbol of Earth's determination. In space, the dreadnoughts moved into attack formation. They stretched out in a line so long it went from the sun all the way past Pluto. Each ship was a city in space, filled with weapons that could destroy whole planets. On the flagship, named Area's Vengeance, General Chen gave her final speech to the troops. Her voice was broadcast to every ship in the fleet. "Today, we fight not just for ourselves, but for the future of humanity," she said. "The Galactic Empire thought they could push us around. They thought we were weak. Today, we prove them wrong." A cheer went up from every ship. The sound of millions of voices filled the comm systems, a roar of human defiance that seemed to shake the stars themselves. As General Chen finished her speech, she gave the order everyone had been waiting for. "All ships, prepare for light speed jump. Our target is the Empire's outer defense line. Today, we take the fight to them." With a flash of light, the dreadnoughts disappeared into hyperspace. The greatest battle in human history was about to begin. And somewhere in the Empire, Emperor Zorn had no idea what was coming for him. The edge of Empire space was quiet. Alien ships floated lazily around a giant space station. It looked like a metal spider, with long arms reaching out into space. This was Outpost Zeta 9, the Empire's first line of defense. Suddenly, alarms started blaring. The station's commander, a tall alien named Crix, rushed to the control room. "What's happening?" he shouted. A young officer pointed at the screen. It was full of red dots. "Sir, we're detecting multiple ships coming out of light speed." Crix's eyes widened. "How many?" The officer gulped. 100,000, sir." Before Crix could reply, space itself seemed to tear open. Huge ships appeared everywhere, surrounding the outpost. They were Earth's dreadnoughts, and they had arrived. On the bridge of Area's Vengeance, General Chen gave the order. "All ships, open fire." The space around Outpost Zeta 9 lit up like 1,000 suns. Lasers, missiles, and energy beams shot out from the Earth ships. The Empire's defenses didn't stand a chance. In just minutes, the giant space station cracked like an egg. Empire ships exploded left and right. Those that survived tried to run, but the dreadnoughts were faster. As the battle raged, more Earth ships appeared. They jumped to nearby star systems, attacking Empire planets and bases. It was like a giant wave of metal and fire, sweeping across the galaxy. Back on the Empire's homeworld, Emperor Zorn was in shock. He watched hologram after hologram, showing his forces being destroyed. "How is this possible?" he roared. His generals had no answers. They had always thought humans were weak. Now, they were facing the biggest army they had ever seen. One brave general stepped forward. "Your Majesty, we must counterattack. We can't let the humans push us back like this." Zorn nodded. His eyes were cold and angry. "Send everything we have. Destroy their fleet. And then, we will make their Earth pay for this insult." As the Emperor gave his orders, the battle spread across the galaxy. Hundreds of worlds saw fighting. The skies of alien planets lit up with explosions as Earth and Empire ships fought. On a small Empire colony world, people ran in fear as dreadnoughts appeared in the sky. But instead of attacking, the Earth ships sent down shuttles. Soldiers in Earth uniforms stepped out, holding up their hands. "We're not here to hurt you," their leader said through a translator. "We're fighting the Empire, not its people. Please, stay calm, and we'll keep you safe." Scenes like this played out on many worlds. Earth was being careful not to hurt innocent people. They remembered Area and didn't want to cause the same pain to others. But the Empire didn't care about being careful. They sent ships to attack Earth colonies on Mars and the Moon. The fighting there was fierce. On Mars, colonists hid in underground bunkers. They could hear the explosions above. Parents tried to comfort scared children, telling them Earth would protect them. And Earth did protect them. Dreadnoughts arrived just in time, driving back the Empire ships. The people of Mars cheered as they saw Earth's fleet in the sky. As the first day of war ended, both sides counted their losses. The Empire had lost thousands of ships and several important bases. Earth had lost some ships too, but not nearly as many. General Chen looked at the reports in her command center. She allowed herself a small smile. "Phase 1 complete," she said. "Now for the real fight." She turned to her officers. "Prepare the main fleet. It's time to push towards the Empire's core worlds." As her orders went out, 600,000 more dreadnoughts began to move. This was just the beginning. The real war was about to start. On Earth, people watched the news with mixed feelings. They were proud of their military success, but scared of what might come next. Parents hugged their children tight, hoping this war would end soon. In homes across the planet, Area's picture still hung on walls. Her smile reminded everyone why they were fighting. This wasn't just about revenge anymore. It was about making sure no more innocent lives were lost. As Earth's massive fleet moved deeper into Empire space, the whole galaxy held its breath. The biggest war in history had begun, and no one knew how it would end. The stars trembled as Earth's massive fleet moved forward. 600,000 dreadnoughts, each one a city in space, pushed deeper into Empire territory. It was like a giant metal fist, punching through the Empire's defenses. On the bridge of Area's Vengeance, General Chen studied a 3D map of the galaxy. Red dots showed Empire worlds. Green dots were Earth's ships. The green was spreading fast. "Status report," Chen ordered. A young officer spoke up. "We've taken control of 50 star systems, ma'am. The Empire is falling back on all fronts." Chen nodded. Things were going well, maybe too well. She couldn't shake the feeling that the Empire had a trick up its sleeve. Far away, on the Empire's capital world, Emperor Zorn was furious. He smashed a hologram projector, sending sparks flying. "How are these humans defeating us?" he roared. "We've ruled the galaxy for 1,000 years." His advisors cowered in fear. One brave soul stepped forward. "Your Majesty, the humans, their technology is beyond anything we've seen. It's like they've been preparing for this for years." Zorn's eyes narrowed. "Or someone has been helping them." He turned to his guards. "Bring me the Minister of Science." Now, as Zorn's suspicions grew, the battle raged across the stars. Earth and Empire ships clashed in epic space battles. Lasers lit up the darkness. Explosions bloomed like fiery flowers. On a jungle world called Nexus Prime, Earth Marines fought alongside alien rebels against Empire troops. The rebels were shocked by Earth's advanced weapons. "We thought you were a backward race," an alien rebel leader said to a human captain. "How did you hide all this?" The captain smiled grimly. "We learned to be careful after seeing what happened to others who showed their strength too soon." Back in space, Earth's fleet approached a key Empire stronghold. It was a ring-shaped space station bigger than Earth's moon. Thousands of Empire ships protected it. General Chen knew this would be the hardest fight yet. "All ships, battle formation Delta," she ordered. "Prepare for heavy resistance." The space around the station erupted in chaos. Empire ships swarmed the Dreadnoughts like angry bees, but Earth's ships were stronger and faster. Inside the station, Empire soldiers rushed to battle stations. Alarms blared. An old Empire general watched the humans approach. He turned to his aide. "Send the message," he said quietly. "It's time." Across Empire space, hidden bases came to life. Secret weapons, long held in reserve, were activated. The Empire was playing its last cards. On Earth, people watched the war unfold on giant screens in city squares. They cheered each victory, but worry lined their faces. How long would this war last? What would be the cost? In a small town, a group of children played in a park. They pretended to be spaceship captains, fighting the Empire. One little girl played the role of Area, watching over them all. Even the youngest knew why Earth was fighting. As the battle for the ring station reached its peak, something strange happened. Empire ships suddenly changed their tactics. They started using weapons Earth had never seen before. General Chen frowned as new alerts popped up on her screen. "What are those?" she asked. Her science officer looked worried. "Some kind of phase shift torpedoes, ma'am. They're passing right through our shields." For the first time, Earth's advance slowed. The Empire's secret weapons were turning the tide. Chen gritted her teeth. "Send a message to Earth. We need Dr. Tanaka's new defense systems. Now." As the request raced back to Earth, the battle hung in the balance. The Empire fought with desperate fury, knowing this might be their last chance to stop the humans. In his palace, Emperor Zorn watched the battle with grim satisfaction. "See," he said to his trembling advisors, "the humans aren't so tough after all." But even as he spoke, a new alert came in. More Earth ships were arriving. Not hundreds, not thousands, but tens of thousands. Zorn's smile faded. He realized this war was far from over. The humans were not just fighting for revenge now. They were fighting for their place in the galaxy. As reinforcements arrived, General Chen allowed herself a small smile. "All ships," she commanded, "push forward. The heart of the Empire awaits." The battle renewed with fresh fury. The fate of the galaxy hung in the balance, and somewhere, in the vastness of space, Aria's spirit watched over it all. The capital world of the Galactic Empire loomed ahead. It was a planet of gleaming metal, with towers that reached into space. Billions of beings from 1,000 worlds lived here. Now they all looked up in fear as Earth's fleet arrived. General Chen stood on the bridge of Aria's vengeance, watching the planet grow larger on the view screen. This was it, the final battle. All ships, take up attack positions, she ordered. Her voice was calm, but her hands were shaking a little. As Earth's dreadnoughts moved into place, the Empire's last defense fleet came to meet them. It was the biggest collection of ships the Empire had ever assembled. The two fleets faced each other, like giant animals about to fight. For a moment, everything was quiet. Then all hell broke loose. Lasers, missiles, and energy beams filled space. Ships exploded left and right. The sky above the Empire's capital lit up like it was day. On the planet below, Emperor Zorn watched from his palace tower. His face was twisted with rage. "Activate the planet killer," he shouted. Deep under the planet's surface, a massive weapon came to life. It was the Empire's last secret, a device that could destroy whole worlds. A beam of energy shot out from the planet, heading straight for Earth's fleet. It cut through ships like they were paper. Thousands of Earth's dreadnoughts were destroyed in seconds. General Chen watched in horror. "Evasive maneuvers," she yelled. But it was too late. The beam was too powerful. Just when all seemed lost, a small ship appeared out of nowhere. It flew straight into the path of the beam. There was a flash of light, and the beam disappeared. Chen couldn't believe her eyes. "What was that?" she asked. Her science officer looked at his screens in amazement. It's Dr. Tanaka's ship. She's created some kind of energy-absorbing shield." On board her small ship, Dr. Tanaka worked frantically at her controls. She had been working on this shield in secret, hoping she would never have to use it. Now, it was Earth's only hope. "General Chen," Tanaka's voice came over the comm. "I can absorb the planet killer's energy, but not for long. You need to take it out." Chen nodded. "All ships, focus fire on the planet's surface. Find that weapon and destroy it." Earth's fleet began to bombard the Empire's capital. The planet's shields held at first, but slowly began to fail under the assault. Emperor Zorn felt his palace shaking. He knew he was losing. In desperation, he turned to his last option. "Release the nano-swarms," he commanded. Suddenly, the space around Earth's ships was filled with tiny robots. They began to eat away at the ship's hulls, like metal insects. "Our shields can't stop them," an officer shouted. But Chen smiled. She had been waiting for this. "Deploy our own nano-swarms," she ordered. From Earth's ships, clouds of microscopic robots flew out. They met the Empire's swarms in space. It was like two clouds of dust fighting each other. Dr. Tanaka watched in awe. "The AIs are fighting each other," she said. "It's a battle we can't even see." As the invisible war raged, Earth's main fleet pressed its attack on the planet. The Empire's defenses were crumbling. In his palace, Zorn realized it was over. He ran to a secret hangar, trying to escape. But as he reached his ship, he found Earth Marines waiting for him. Their leader stepped forward, holding up a picture of a smiling little girl. "Remember her?" the Marine asked. "Her name was Aria. This is for her." Zorn fell to his knees, defeated at last. Above the planet, the last of the Empire's ships surrendered. General Chen looked out at the stars, tears in her eyes. "We did it," she whispered. "Aria, we did it." As news of the victory spread, cheers erupted across Earth and its colonies. The war was over. The galaxy would never be the same. But even in victory, Chen knew the real work was just beginning. How would Earth handle its new role in the galaxy? What would they do with the Empire's worlds? As the fleet began its long journey home, These questions hung in the air. The future was uncertain, but one thing was clear. Humanity had proven itself a force to be reckoned with in the universe, and somewhere, among the stars, Aria's spirit smiled. The journey back to Earth took weeks. General Chen stood on the bridge of Aria's vengeance, watching the stars streak by. The ship was battered and scarred from battle, but it had survived, just like humanity. As they approached the solar system, Chen felt a mix of emotions: joy at their victory, sadness for those lost, and worry about what comes next. Earth came into view, a beautiful blue marble in space. Cheers erupted across the fleet. They were home. As the ships entered orbit, Chen saw something that made her gasp. Millions of lights covered the night side of the planet. People were holding candles, visible even from space, a welcome home for their heroes. The landing was broadcast across the world. As Chen stepped off her ship, she was met by the United Earth Council. The president stepped forward, tears in her eyes, and hugged the general. "Thank you," she whispered. "You've made humanity proud." But the biggest surprise was waiting inside. There, in a special chamber, was Emperor Zorn. The once mighty ruler now looked small and afraid. Chen approached him. For a moment, she thought of Aria, of all the lives lost. She wanted to be angry, but instead, she felt pity. "Your empire is over," she said softly. "But this isn't the end. It's a new beginning. For all of us." In the days that followed, Earth was busy. Leaders from across the galaxy arrived for a great meeting. It was time to build a new galactic order. The old council chamber was transformed. Aliens of all shapes and sizes filled the seats. Some were former Empire worlds, others were races that had hidden from the Empire. Now, they all looked to Earth for leadership. Dr. Tanaka presented her vision for the future. "We have a chance to build something amazing," she said. "A galaxy where all races work together, where science and exploration are our goals, not war." There were arguments and disagreements. Some wanted to punish the Empire worlds. Others feared Earth would become the new oppressor. But in the end, a new galactic council was formed. Earth would lead, but every world would have a voice. It was the dawn of a new age. As the council met, work began across Earth. The great shipyards that had built the Dreadnoughts were transformed. Now, they would build ships of peace and exploration. Schools taught children about alien cultures. Hospitals researched cures for diseases from 100 worlds. Earth was changing, growing into its new role as a galactic leader. But they didn't forget the cost of their victory. In the center of New York, a great memorial was built. At its heart was a statue of Aria, the little girl whose death had started it all. The statue showed Aria looking up at the stars, a smile on her face. Around the base were the names of all those lost in the war, human and alien alike. On the day the memorial was unveiled, people came from across Earth and beyond. Aliens stood side by side with humans, all paying their respects. General Chen stood before the crowd to speak. She looked out at the sea of faces, saw the hope and the sorrow in their eyes. "We stand here today not to celebrate war," she began, "but to commit ourselves to peace. Aria's death taught us the cost of conflict. Her memory will guide us to a better future." As she spoke, a ship took off from a nearby spaceport. It was the first of Earth's new exploration vessels. Its mission: to seek out new life and new civilizations, to spread peace and understanding across the galaxy. The ship rose into the sky, growing smaller until it was just a point of light among the stars. The crowd watched in silence, feeling the weight of history. In that moment, they all understood. The war had changed everything. Earth was no longer just a small planet in a vast galaxy. It was a beacon of hope, a force for change. And as the new ship disappeared into the depths of space, Aria's statue seemed to smile a little brighter. Her spirit would live on, guiding humanity to a future filled with wonder and possibility. The galaxy would never be the same, and that was a good thing.